just met yesterday.
Yes.
And we're here in Tamarindo, Costa Rica. And this was a really beautiful synchronistic meeting. And so tell us a little bit about your company.
Okay, so my name is Jair Perez.
That is so much better.
I'm original.
I'm going to practice.
That's okay. I'm original from Costa Rica. I have a lot of lineage of indigenous blood in my past line, from my father's and my dad's parents and all that. So my mom and dad met on the beach in Hermosa, where I'm from, and literally we all grew up right in front of the beach and everything. But and I met, since Amanda and I got married, we always wanted to do a business that we can impact other people's life, especially because of, it was always in my heart, especially because of the way I grew up. And I always wanted to give people that grew up like me opportunities as people gave me opportunities to
So how do you describe the way, you say the way I grew up, how would you describe the way you grew up? How many siblings do you
I
have?
have 11 brothers and sisters. I grew up in a broken family. My mom left when I was 4. My dad was an alcoholic all of his life. He died from it. And I was raised by my sister, my older sister, for 4 years. And after that, my sister couldn't handle us anymore. It was the 3 youngest from our family. And after that, I literally grew up in the street in Jaco, where I'm from. After that, after I was 9 years by then. And from 9 years on, it was just figure out by yourself. And that's how I got into surfing, because I met Don Juan Calderon's and his son surf, and Don Juan was an entrepreneur. He's always been in business, and I met him because of his sons. I met him on the beach. I made friends with them, and then I started going to their house, and Don Juan took me as one of his adopted kids.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. See, there's a secret at the end that we'll talk more about surfing, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So you were raised by an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And you were also, so the first question I asked Amanda was, what made you take the entrepreneurial leap? Well, you were kind of forced to take a leap when you were just a baby, basically. You're 9 years old, and you're faced with, how do I survive? And so when that happens, you're put in a position where you have to learn skills, which serve you later, but you don't know.
Yeah, I feel like somehow I have memories seeing Don Juan leaving the house in the mornings, coming back in the afternoon. I remember asking, where you been? He was like, I'm just working. I was trying to, and I knew somehow that he was doing something to provide for his kids, because they had toys, they had things that I never had it, and at the same time, he was the first guy that took me from the beach down to see a big city, which is San Jose City. First time I went to the city, it was because he took me. And I knew from a little kid, I was like, wow, he's doing something right. Seeing his kids having a lot of stuff and toys and food provided at the table, I was like, I felt part of the family, I felt their love, and also one of the things that really helped me as a kid, because I have freedom since I was a little kid, 9 years old in the street. Like, I could go back to their house and sleep there, or I could sleep in the street. So it was my own decision, and I was like, no, I think I like it there. I might stick around with them more and learn from them. And then Don Juan, I would say I would say God gave me favor in front of him because he bought me surfboards, he bought me shoes, he bought me clothes to wear, he feed me as one of his own kids. He told me one time that really helped me. He said, you can do anything you want here. You can stay as long as you want. But if you use drugs or do alcohol, I don't want you near my kids. And I think that really impacts me since I was a little kid. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I kind of want to stick around here because I know something good. I think, yeah, that was a big intervention in my young life of, I would believe it was God that put him in my path to be who I am. And I would believe also my older sister had that influence through when I was from 4 to 9 years old, that I wasn't something else that can turn out bad. So I think there's two persons that I will appreciate forever in my life, my sister and my mom. Yeah.
That is a remarkable story. What a remarkable man.
Yeah.
And he's still here.
Yeah, he's still in, Don Juan owns one of the best coffee shops in town in Paco, where I'm from now. His two sons are older. We still have a great relationship. I learned a lot about coffee with them. I trained as a barista in their coffee shop. Don Juan and I have a beautiful relationship. Like every time I see him, like I have to give him a hug. Because, and he was a really special. Him and so many much people, even in my surfing career and everything, that I know they got put in the path to help me. Because they knew my situation. They knew I had nobody. And I still have my brothers and sisters, but they all were trying to survive at the same time. And I'm like, oh. But anyway, yeah, that's a little bit of.
Okay, so this is a new venture, the coffee venture. So tell us a little bit about what you were doing before.
Before even coffee was surfing, and since I'm 14, 16 years old, I learned how to teach people to surf. And so that was like my main two fields where I always started meeting people and just started learning a little bit about money too, because I never had that education. I never knew what save money means. I never had that in my life. So that came after years when I started in the surfing industry, and I started getting sponsors, and I started getting paid monthly, and then I got a little more independent of myself, and started managing my money, opening bank accounts and all that. I never knew what was that.
You are the current champion. What is the actual title that you hold?
I still actually a national champion of Costa Rica since I've been actually two times national champion in Costa Rica, and the last time was in 2019 by COVID hit, so they haven't done more events. And I'm currently national champion because they have no more events. But I know when they start again, I'll be happy to still competing and stuff. That's not finished yet, I know, and I will say that now I can choose just where I'm at in my business and my family and everything. I can choose where to go. Before it was like a daily bread. Like I would out, go train, go serve all day, like go find the waves. And now the dynamic has changed a little bit, of course, because of the business and everything. But I would love to keep the games as long as I want, and as long as I can. So.
Well, even the fact that you are the champion surfer, which is amazing. So that drive, there's something in you that wants to be the best,
Definitely.
right? So where did that come from?
I will say that will come. There's three parts. I would say. One, I always say I don't want to be like my dad. Two,
That's a big driver,
yeah.
honestly.
Two, I don't. I remember where I come from, and I don't want to go back there because I knew how hard it was. Three, I want to make my family proud.
Yeah.
And my mom.
But I find it really fascinating that a lot of people could say that, But actually, it's like a lot of people could say, yes, I want to own a business. But when it comes right down to what it takes to make it happen, it's a whole other story.
Man, I know we can sit here for hours, but I will say personally, to own a business, I never thought I would own a business, first of all. Because in my mind, there was this pattern before, like, oh man, I'm never gonna get ahead. Like I'm always gonna be like this loser that grew up with nothing, and then all of a sudden, like life, God started putting people in my path, and I'm learning new things in my life besides surfing. And now being where I'm at right now, like managing a business here in Costa Rica, literally by myself, because I know my wife takes care of the U.S. part and I take care of the Costa Rica part.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we partnered together really good, and so like I'm looking back and like, wow, how that happened? Like how cool I feel right now to like literally having nothing growing up and now owning my own business and being an entrepreneur and learning so much. For everything for me has been new for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Since we started business, I would say 2 years, and everything has been new. Nobody never told me about business. Nobody ever told me about, all these things, how to talk to somebody, talk to an entrepreneur. Nobody told me how to sell a bag of coffee. I had to learn all these things the hard way, and I did my mistakes, and that's one good thing that I'm good about it. When I do a mistake, I really learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to go back and say, okay, what did I do wrong? Even though I feel super bad when I make a mistake, my wife can tell you I get super discouraged. I'm like, man, because you have sometimes you got that gut feeling that you know that you have to do something a certain way, and then you screw it up, and you're like, I knew it, and I didn't do it because I feel that I'm learning still, how to handle money, how to talk to people, how do I sell my product, and I think it's gonna be a long process, but I took the leap of faith and jump on it.
Yes.
And I am where I'm at right now with my wife, and I think it's doing great. People love our coffee, people love our marketing, and I believe it's gonna grow big.
So I want to interject here something, because the day I met you, we were at a restaurant. I was at a restaurant with my son, and we were having breakfast, and the presentation, like you were basically giving what do you call it, like an introduction to your coffee at this restaurant. So the way you presented it was,
Did you like it?
Yes. It was like a performance. I'm trying to come up with the right word. It was like an experience.
There you go.
So first of all, the graciousness that is you comes through, right? And then your passion for, I have another little video that we'll put in here of, this is how you do it, this is how we prepare it, this is where it came from. It was an experience, and then by the time you're drinking it, you're like,
this is
wow,
really good.
This is amazing. Because there's a whole story and a whole experience that you know where it's come from and how it was prepared and everything. So I asked Amanda the question, what do you think about the statement, just do things before you're ready? Like take action before you're really ready. And it sounds like you kind of answered that already, like you just are taking, but what I find so interesting about you, and I think this is common with entrepreneurs, is that you actually perceive opportunity and then you move towards it. And often the opportunity is everywhere and people just don't see it. All they see is obstacles.
Yeah.
But you see the opportunity and you grab it, and then you make a mistake and then you fix it, and then you keep moving.
And that's definitely that I have since I went to the street. I recognize the people that I have to stick with them. I recognize my friends really fast. And I recognize opportunities really fast, and I never let go. Because I knew I could have one chance, one shot. And and I had to grab a hold of it.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think that's, I know with God's help and faith and jumping, like jumping with your eyes, something like that, and just
blind.
jump, blind, that really put me where I'm at right now. And that, what you say really encouraged me, because my whole goal with coffee is that, to make people part of it, and to encounter people where they're at, give them an experience, not only selling a product.
Yes.
And that they know when they're drinking a coffee, they're not only drinking a cup of coffee, they're drinking a story of
Yes.
hope and future,
Yeah.
not only for a family, but to impact many lives out there. So that's really our goal.
I love that. I know I often say the business is just the vehicle. And yeah. But it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Okay, I have my list of questions. I think we answered them all, actually. Your childhood dream. So, one of the questions I like to ask is, have you ever struggled with communicating your value? But it seems to me, so I don't know, maybe you want to answer that. And it's interesting because of where you came from.
Yeah.
How did
I
you
would say-
reach that?
I would say I'm a person that I don't really like to talk much about myself. Not because of my past, because I overcome that with my faith in God and everything. And there is definitely a little, the way I grew up, the way that everything happened in my life, of course, is I use that as a tool.
Yeah.
I use it as a tool to encourage people, to impact people, and love people, and connect people to my story of what we do. But I definitely don't really like to talk much about myself. I probably have a little, I do have a little struggle, like sharing, like just me, and telling people who am I. You know, I kind of want to know more about you. Like I want to know you, like, you know. But I will say that I do struggle with like presenting myself, or like, you know, of myself. I think I can present my coffee really good, but not myself. So
I think I feel like you actually did a really good job today. I mean, it's like we're talking about the business is just the vehicle for the message. That's kind of what our lives turn out to be. Like all those things that we think are us, it's never about us, right? It's like, obviously we found God, you have a strong faith, and from the point that awareness happens, I think we realize that everything that we experience and everything that happens to us is just a story to help others. So then we aren't, so it's just not about, it's just, I don't even know why we think it is. It's because we are all we know, right?
Yeah. And I will say that everything that my wife and I do, and everything that we're doing into the business is to bring hope for the kids and the people that don't have an opportunity as I know I have a lot of opportunities, and because of the way I was created, I grab a hold of them and not let it go. But I know that there is a lot of people out there with different personalities, and they struggle more, and they're more weak in their head. So we really want to give them hope in the future, and give them tools to work, so they can know and feel value of who they are.
I love that.
And whatever they are, that we can encourage them through our business and through our, you can call it whatever, through our coffee, through our profits, whatever you call it. We just want to bring hope to those kids, to unify them with what we do.
Yeah, well, you are such a remarkable person. And I do think it's really unique. I think that the majority of people just somehow they don't know how to, like you said, it's a mental thing. They don't see the opportunity. They see it as is a crushing obstacle, and they don't, so therefore they don't take action.
It's kind of, I would say, fear is worse than anything in the world, because fear will paralyze you, will get you sick, and then eventually will kill you.
Yeah.
So I think as fast as you get rid of your fears and jump in it, in the leap of faith, it will be easier for a lot of people. And I will encourage people to do that. Whatever they feel fearful about, find people that they trust, and as fast as they can get rid of the fear, as fast as they will come out from wherever they are.
And how did you find that, because I know this is true for a lot of entrepreneurs in general, and there are different levels of struggle, but it almost doesn't matter, like if you're in the streets or if you're in a prison in your head, or like everybody has those same qualities, right? Like how do I step outside of my box? And often that entails letting people go out of your life.
Definitely, 100%.
So
you become who you hang out with.
yeah.
So you definitely have to choose your friends.
How did you do
And
that?
I did that since I was a little kid. I really choose, because it's easy. You just recognize who's good for you and who's not. And whoever's going to drive you towards something good, you got to have to stick with those people.
Yeah.
And it automatically, like, I had a lot of friends that smoke weed and do all kinds of drugs and party. And I could stick with those people easy because I was in their gang, I was part of it, but I knew I had to get out of there because I knew I would.
But not everybody knows that. That's what's so interesting, is you saw this man who gave you a glimmer, and you stepped towards that.
That's right.
Instead of staying in your comfort zone. And almost anyone who starts a business, it's not comfortable. It's not. It's just, and it gets worse.
Yeah, exactly.
It just never gets comfortable.
And I feel like my wife said before, like you kind of have to like do that leap of faith and stepping out of that box that you're talking about with the people that you hang out with.
Yes.
Because they're definitely a big influence in your life. Like if you have people that you trust and share your vision and what you're supposed to do, and if they're encouraging to you and they're supportive of you, you're gonna come out of that box faster. But if you go to people that they're always negative, they're always like super discouraged from their own lives and their own mess, and they say, oh, that's not gonna work. Many people have done that before, never worked. So you're never gonna go ahead.
Right.
Because you gotta have people in your life that encourage you, even if it's a little small business. You never know what that can become.
Absolutely.
Don't despise the small beginnings.
My wife she said that too, and it's so.
My wife and
I've been hearing this.
Yeah, my wife and I stick to that because we felt like God spoke to us that specific words. Do not despise the small beginnings. And I live every day, every business I go to present my coffee, it's a small beginning for me. It's a step, an end step for me. And I see it that way because I don't know who I'm going to encounter that day. I don't know who I'm going to go talk to that day. I just never know.
I know, you never know.
You just never know who God has in your life.
Us coming together, it was a divine.
It definitely was a divine appointment.
Yeah,
I know.
me too.
Because you prayed, and we prayed, and we met.
Yeah. Okay, two more. I could talk to you for 10 years, but two more questions. And this is just out of curiosity. With your competitive surfing, that's kind of the same thing. Like, what was happening that allowed you to rise to the top? I mean, obviously you grew up doing it, but a lot of people grow up surfing.
Yeah.
A lot of people, especially in Costa Rica. It's not that unique, right?
Yeah.
So how do you have a super competitive nature, or you're competing with yourself, or what? Where does that come from?
I will say that I do love the adrenaline of competition, but I would say that I always wanted to be the best in what I do. Like I want to be the best guy on coffee. Like I want to learn so good at it that I want to be there. I want that my business be the best, and I want that people see us as a role model how to create a business from zero to go to the top. So for me, surfing, I would say that I was, yes, not super competitive. Like I wasn't like trying to like be mean to my competitors next to us. I was always super calm in the water, waiting for my waves, doing competitions, and I was just like on my own world. Like, okay, next wave I'm gonna take, I wanna do this, and then I did it. And so I think that's how my two national champions years that I did in Costa Rica, I say that's the way I won. Was, of course, having that in my life was a big influence because I have more peace about myself. I can calm myself more. My faith is a big role in my surfing career. And the people that I have next to me, the people that I train with, the people that motivate me. And when I was out there competing, those 2 times, my 2 titles, I keep reminding myself, I got nothing to lose. This is fun. This is so fun for me. Like, I wanna show people how fun it is when you're competing. It's not something that you have to be mad about or try or punch anybody. You can still be a champion having fun with the people that support you. That's when it tastes better.
I love that.
And it tastes better when you come again from scratch. When you come from nothing to become something, that's when the cool stories come out.
Absolutely.
That's when the most impact. And when you do something by yourself and with God and your faith, and when you see the fruits of it, you're like, it tastes so good. This is so good. Like, and that's what drives me and motivates me every day. That I know I start something from scratch, I'm coming from nothing, but now what I have, I enjoy it so much more. Because I know who I was, and I know the process that I've been through, and I know who I am.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
So I don't need to ask you advice, what the advice you would give. I think all of this has been advice to
Yes, for sure.
people that would.
You
And
inspired
I
to be a
hope-
role
yeah.
model.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I hope this will help anybody out there who will listen and to see this. And I encourage you guys to drink Soljurn.
Yeah, there's a whole, I know we didn't really talk about the coffee, and so, but there's this whole thing too, I think, with, like when entrepreneurship is now kind of a trendy thing. It's like an option. No one even knew how to spell the word like 20 years ago. It's like, what is that? That's not a thing. So, but I think there's something about money too that people are starting to understand. Like there's a mastermind that I sometimes attend. It's an organization through Strategic Coach. I don't know if you've heard of them, but it's called, they have an acronym called ELF, and every business has to be easy, lucrative, and fun. And when I first saw that, I thought, that's really weird. But the more I'm with these people and I understand what they mean behind it, it's what you just described. It means that you don't have to force everything. You're like in alignment with your faith, right? And that naturally becomes lucrative because you don't despise small beginnings. Everything multiplies when you serve, and it starts that flow. And the fun part is it's actually fun because you're in the creation process constantly. And you lose and fall down and get up, and lose and fall down and get up. It's a toddler. It's like we're just going.
And that day we met, it was like for me, I was having fun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I know you were just playing.
Yeah, it was just, I feel like if you're an entrepreneur of anything that you love or you're doing, you have to keep it fun.
Yes.
That's what my surf coach always told me. If you take the fun out of it, you're done. So I always remember that. When I'm competing now, when I do stuff, like just put the fun in. No matter how your day was, when you're in it, keep the fun. And that will help you and the people that are around to you. That's like fear. If you're motivated and you're like happy and enjoying it, it's gonna stick to the people around you. It's contagious.
It's contagious.
It's like faith. You stick to me too long, you're gonna have, your faith's gonna grow, I'm telling you. And it's like fear. If you're around people that's fearful all the time, that's what you're gonna get.
That's right.
So I think that's a big role for entrepreneurs. I know, because I experience on my own flesh, that I know that what you say, that the money part for some people is hard. I get that, but you just have to keep pursuing.
Yeah.
Because I experience it every single day with the business. You know, there's months where like sellings are going off, and then at the end of the month you gotta pay everybody anything, and then it's just a little bit tiny. And I'm like, all this work for nothing.
Yeah.
But then that motivates you, like, okay, I gotta do better. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep pushing.
And you see the impact.
That's right.
And you can't stop because you're like, the impact is so rich, and you're being, anyway. So you are so delightful, and it is such a privilege for me to have this opportunity to just speak with you. It's, I am so excited to support you in what you're doing and whatever.
Thank you. I'm really honored for you to meet you guys. I'm really honored for this opportunity to speak on whatever you do. We have, I don't know much about you, but I know what you're doing is the same feeling that we share. I encourage you to keep doing it, keep impacting lives, and I know you're on the right path.
Yeah.
And I know your son have a big inspiration to look up to, and that's beautiful to me. I want my son